here we go. The floor is yours, Samudra.
Thank you so much, Mariana, and EducationUSA for hosting us today. We have 9 law schools, top law schools in the US. Happy to share their expertise with you, and they have a lot of experience with the application process and the LL.M programs and other like financial opportunities. So today they're here to talk to you. So I will be kind of going through the slides, and then our experts from the law schools will jump in. And first, I would like for experts to go ahead and introduce themselves and which law schools they're representing today. And we have from Georgia State University.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's so great to be with you all. My name is Shantae Bennett. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for Georgia State's Law School.
Next, who would like to go?
Hi, I'm Andrew Boat with the George Washington University Law School in Washington, D.C. We also just go by GW Law. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Next, please.
Yeah, Inza Blanca from Loyola University, Chicago. Glad to be here.
The next.
Bridget Sandusky. I'm coming from Suffolk University Law School in Boston, Massachusetts.
And do we have somebody from Northeastern?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Megan Marr. I'm from Northeastern Law, also located in Boston, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Megan. And then we have left University of Illinois.
Hi, everybody. My name is Margaret Etienne. I'm the Associate Dean for Graduate and International Programs at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana.
And do we have somebody from Tulane University? Or we are missing Maria. Anybody else have not introduced yourself so far?
Hello, I'm Danielle Flores de Benzerga with Columbia Law School.
Thank you so much. And my name is Samudra Kugel with University of California, Davis School of Law. Yep. So if our representative from Tulane hopefully join us later, and then she can introduce herself. So today we are going to talk about the application process and all the parts of the application, like the application checklist. Yeah, please jump in and go ahead, our panel member.
Hi, everyone. So today's topic is how to apply to an LLM program. So I'm going to start off the webinar by giving everyone a brief overview of some of the required documents that you'll need to submit with your LLM application. So this will obviously vary by school and even by program, but in general, LLM applicants are required to submit basic documentation. The first would be the completed application form, and my colleagues will talk more in depth about how to apply to an LLM program later on, but the completed application form will be submitted either through the Law School Admission Council or directly through the law school's own application. And application forms will include information such as which program you're applying to, your contact information, biographical information, demographic information. You might also be required to list work experience, education, etc. So the first part is the completed application form. The second document that is typically required of all LLM applicants is a resume or CV. You want to make sure that is as up-to-date as possible. Includes education, work experience, and any academic or professional honors that you may have received. Some law schools or LLM programs might have other specifics that they'd like you to address in a resume or CV, but in general, it's just an updated resume or CV. Next is a personal statement. Again, this could vary by law school or by program based on what they would like you to address, but typically applicants should write about why they would like to pursue an LLM degree at that particular law school and how it will advance their personal or professional goals. You definitely want to pay attention with the personal statement as to any format requirements that a law school might have, such as a limit of the limit on the number of pages, font, and whether or not it should be double spaced. Next are transcripts. Usually all post-secondary transcripts are required to be submitted, so all undergraduate and graduate coursework. This should include all of your courses, marks, and then evidence of a degree conferral and date typically. If that is not included in your transcript, you should also submit a diploma. And some law schools might accept unofficial transcripts for the purpose of evaluating an application for admission. So you may be able to submit unofficial transcripts with your application. And then if you're admitted, you would be able to submit official transcripts afterwards. That being said, most law schools do require official transcripts with the application. The credential evaluation, another brief point with transcripts, you would also be required to submit an official translation with transcripts if your transcripts are not already in English. You may also be required to submit a credential evaluation with your transcripts that will give the law school more information about whether or not that's equivalent to a bachelor's degree in the United States and the equivalent GPA in the United States. So but not all law schools will require a credential evaluation. Some will, and some will have requirements on who should be doing those credential evaluations, the particular services that you should be using. Next are letters of recommendation. Again, this will vary by law school and by program. Some law schools might only require one, others may require up to 3. You'll also want to pay attention as to whether or not there are any requirements around who should write the letter of recommendation, whether it should be professional or academic, and also how that should be submitted. If there's a specific form your recommender should use, or if that should be submitted directly or through a website. And then finally, English proficiency test scores. Most law schools will require a proof of English proficiency test, including such as TOEFL, IELTS. Other law schools might also accept Pearson or Duolingo. And my colleagues will also be talking a little bit more in depth about the different English proficiency tests that are accepted. There might be other components that other law schools require, so I will let any of my colleagues who have additional documentation required for their law schools to jump in now.
So for our law school at Georgia State Law, in addition to a personal statement, we also require a writing sample. And this can be a sample of your writing that was done during your time in your academic study, or if you're currently working as an attorney, some type of professional writing that you have. I understand that, when it's scholarly writing, it can be quite lengthy. So, you can definitely shorten the length of your sample that you're submitting to no more than 2 pages for our school.
Thank you so much, Shante. And thank you, Megan. Are there any other additional requirements? Any law school require interviews?
Sumitra, I can jump in. Our Northeastern does not require an interview. In certain cases, some applicants may be asked to interview with the LL.M director based on their English proficiency test score.
Yeah, the UC Davis, we don't have an interview process either, a formal one, but same as Megan mentioned, that special situations, we may talk to our students. If there's nothing else to add, we will move to the next speaker, next panelist. What is the LSAC, which is the Law School Admission Council? And then I think we have University of Illinois, our panelist would like to talk about this topic.
Actually, it's my topic, so I can go ahead and jump in.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide.
Okay.
Thank you. Perfect. So the Law School Admission Council, or LSAC, I know that, some of you who may be tuned in, you may be already familiar with LSAC and what they do, but those of you who are not, definitely want to give you an overview of what they do, who they are, and the type of services that they provide. So just a little bit of background about LSAC. So it's a not-for-profit organization that is currently celebrating 75 years of service. Their mission is to advance law and justice by encouraging diverse, talented individuals to the study of law. They offer a number of services that support both candidates and schools. And they also, work to simplify the application process. So when I talk to prospective students, I always tell folks that, when you're looking at the LSAC website, it's kind of like a one-stop shop for applying. Of course, there are some schools in the United States that allow students to apply directly to their colleges, but there are many schools in the country that require you to apply through LSAC. So, if you are applying to an institution that requires an application through LSAC, the first thing that you would need to do is, when you navigate on their website, is go to the section where it says LL.M and other programs. You want to create an account on their website on lsac.org. It is a free account at no charge to you. LSAC also allows for you to search for and build a list of potential law schools. So you may be thinking of schools based on your interest areas, or perhaps a geographic location, or if there are any type of professional goals you may have for yourself. You can definitely navigate through the LSAC website, and it'll help you search for various schools that may be a great match for you and with your education. Also, LSAC has a tool for law schools that can help us to recruit you, the prospective student, through a service called the Candidate Referral Service, or CRS for short. So it's an option for prospective students to opt in to CRS. And again, like I said, it's a way where we can communicate with you. We can tell you more about our programs. Perhaps, there may be a school out there that you may not have heard of, or, thought that perhaps this is a great fit for me. And the CRS tool can be used where you can learn more about individual schools. They can inform you about their deadlines, or just share other points of pride that their institution has to offer. Also, LSAC offers a digital LL.M forum. There is actually one this past September, but it's a great way for you to be able to connect with various law schools who may not be able to have that in-person FaceTime with you. So it's an excellent tool to get to know different schools and what they have to offer. Also, the LSAC website allows you to apply electronically to the participating ABA-approved law schools. And there are many schools who utilize LSAC services. So again, that one-stop shop for applying. LSAC also offers the credential assembly service. I won't dive fully into that because I know that my colleagues will talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation, but it allows for candidates to submit their academic records, their transcripts, their recommendation letters, their English proficiency scores, if applicable, to LSAC. So it really streamlines the process for you, and you are able to submit your documentation once. So instead of sending documents to various schools, everything can be sent to LSAC, and every school in which you apply can pull for that one LL.M credential assembly service report. If you have questions about LSAC services, you're definitely welcome to contact them via phone or by email. I also recommend that you also, you want to reach out to each individual institution to see if there are any additional requirements that you would need to meet. Of course, you know, for most LLM programs, we all require the same type of documentation, but there may be some differences. So definitely you want to make sure that you connect with the individual schools. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shante. And so the next topic, do all schools use LSAC?
So I can speak a little bit about that. So, you know, we learned a lot about sort of LSAC and what it is and how it works. I'm not familiar with any law schools for the JD and LLM programs that don't allow the use of LSAC. So I think that the first answer is yes, all schools use LSAC. You know, as my colleague, as Shante mentioned, it is a one-stop shop, so that if you are applying to a lot of schools, LSAC may make a lot of sense for you. There is a fee per school where, you know, to send your documents and so forth. So some students decide not to use LSAC, but LSAC is usually the easiest way to apply to a large number of schools in one sort of one-stop shop. But there are some other alternatives. Now, not all schools do this, but there are some schools that will allow you to apply directly. So some schools will allow you to apply. They have their own portals or application process through their graduate college or through their campus that will allow you to apply. And there are a few schools, I think fewer, that will allow you to apply just immediately directly to the school by email or to the law school itself. The best way to figure that out is by contacting the schools themselves, if you're concerned or if you're interested in applying directly. What's the benefit of applying through LSAC is that you can apply to a lot of schools at once, as we've mentioned, and you can submit all of your documents at one time. The downside is that it has a cost. The benefit, those who choose to apply outside of LSAC have to do a lot of individual work for each school. So you're sending all of your documents that were described, all of the application requirements to each school individually. And some schools may have their own application fees or some other requirements. So you want to keep that in mind. Going to the law school's website is probably the best way to figure out if they allow you to apply in an alternative way, and maybe contacting that particular law school to figure that out. But I would say that the vast majority of students still apply through LSAC, and all the schools accept it, but there are alternative ways to do it.
Thank you so much. For an example, UC Davis School of Law, we are one of the schools that do accept through LSAC or through our website or even a paper application occasionally. So we get paper applications. So yeah, so there's 3 different ways to apply to my law school. So just like Margaret mentioned, it's always good to discuss with the law school that you apply, know multiple schools, what's the best way to apply and what are the options. Thank you. Yeah, so now we are going to move into the portion or the parts of the application, like the checklist. And first, resume and work experience. Let's see who has that topic. Is anybody?
Sure, I can jump in. I'm not sure whether this is my topic or not. So the resume is, there's a specific American format of a resume, particularly for law students, but you do not need to follow that because you're not there yet. You will pick up that format once you are in the law school. So you would list in bullet point form the various stations of your education. Most law schools do not need to hear about your high school degree, or any work you did before that. So begin with the college degree, and for most of you that would be law school. That's the first degree you get after the high school. In America, we call it undergraduate law school. So you list the educational stages, all the degrees you have, even if they're not in law. We want to know about that. Most law schools do. And it is interesting to show your work experience, of course, as well. And it doesn't have to be relevant. It doesn't have to be, sorry, by relevant, I mean legal work experience. If you have experience in any other field that may be of interest to the admissions committees as well. Since you're all from different countries, do us a favor to put the cities behind each experience and the country, particularly if you were in different countries. So this is just a bullet point list where you list your experiences, and you will supplement that with your personal statement. And I believe somebody else will talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so the next topic, the standardized test.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah, thank you.
So to apply to LLM programs, it is typically not necessary to take some of the standard graduate level US education tests, the GRE, the GMAT, nor the LSAT. The LSAT is the exam typically used to qualify to take a JD program. For LLM, it is not necessary. What is necessary, as my colleagues have mentioned, is proving your English proficiency. Typically, this is done.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So most commonly, students take the TOEFL exam, which is administered by ETS. The minimum scores will vary depending on the school. For example, for GW Law, we ask for a minimum of 100. We don't have any specifications on what score to achieve in each of the 4 focus areas, but some schools may have a minimum, for example, for the writing or the reading. So this will vary quite a bit by school. I will add that if you're applying via LSAC, you want to have your TOEFL scores sent directly to LSAC. And that's one of the documents that is copied by LSAC and sent to each school to which you apply. The IELTS is often accepted. That's administered by the British Council. That is also able to be sent to LSAC for duplication. And some schools may accept other English proficiency tests like Cambridge, Duolingo, or Pearson. We do not. Others, this is going to vary from school to school. Again, typically you're going to take the TOEFL or the IELTS, but there may be some other schools that take other tests. I did want to mention lastly that there are some scenarios for which you may not need to take any English proficiency score. At GW Law, we will waive the TOEFL requirement for anyone with a university level degree in English. Some of you may have some education in the United States or at another, at an English speaking country or a school that's taught in English. And this is again something that's going to vary from school to school, but you can reach out ahead of applying and ask if your background is suitable for a waiver of the TOEFL requirement. I don't know if any of my colleagues want to jump in with any differences or additional comments.
I'll jump in and just say at Suffolk, we are one of the schools we started to accept Duolingo during COVID-19 when IELTS and TOEFL were still sort of figuring out how to be offering home edition tests. And that's something we did on a pilot basis and something that we have found success with and that we'll continue to accept in addition to TOEFL or IELTS. Just for note that if you are applying through LSAC, Duolingo is not something that's automatically that you're sent there that's currently uploaded. It might be something in the future, but currently it's not. So you really do need to get in touch with the various different schools if that is something. I always, when I'm meeting with an applicant, if they say that this is what I'm interested in doing, I say TOEFL and IELTS are those test scores that are going to be most universally accepted and will be easiest for them to transport to various different schools.
Right, and I will respond to a couple of questions because they're relevant. Yes, you can have your TOEFL score sent to LSAC, and that can be duplicated and sent to each individual school. It's possible that a school will ask to have the TOEFL score sent directly to their university as well. We certainly don't. And another person asked, is the TOEFL alone enough to prove their English proficiency? Yes, the TOEFL and the other documents that we've mentioned are enough.
Thank you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Bridget. So the timing, the applications and decision process, who would like to jump and talk about the timing?
This is me too. And so if you can just go to the next slide, please, Sumitra.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, what's the best time? When should you start thinking about applying to an LL.M program? And what I think all of my colleagues here tonight would say, it's about really doing research and really figuring out what's the best time for you. And that is something that's a very personal decision. I think my colleague from Loyola will be talking about sort of work experience and if you need to have work experience. But I think there could be other reasons why somebody might be putting off going to pursue an LL.M program, why some might want to do it right after university or maybe 10 years later, where you're currently located, if you're overseas or if you've emigrated to the United States. So I think it really is what works for you, what works for your personal background and potentially also for your family. So in regards to finances and things like that as well. It's really important to read instructions, particularly if you're going to be thinking about applying to external scholarships. Those will be at least usually a year in advance. So in that way, it's about gathering information about different programs, where you want to go. Is there, a particular location? Do you want to be in an urban school or a downtown location, in the suburbs, in a country, and how big of a program is? So all of these are going to be factors for you to kind of narrow down the list, because there are, I don't even know how many, hundreds of LL.M programs now in the United States and obviously around the world. So you have lots and lots to choose from, and some will be in very specialized different areas. So doing that research will put you into a good spot of what application cycles do these particular schools have. So a traditional start date would be at the end of August or in September, and we call that fall. And then for some other schools, they also have a spring start date. And so starting in January, at Suffolk we start in fall, and we also start in spring, January, which sounds odd and strange. And then there are some schools that might also have a summer start date as well. So it's important to see, when is it going to be best for you? Maybe you need to take the TOEFL or IELTS one more time. And so looking at a school that might have a second start date might be really beneficial for you, instead of having to wait an entire another academic year, or maybe all of a sudden there's a personal circumstance that prevents or requires you to delay the start date. And so you might look to see if there are other LL.M programs that would fit your particular needs, the specializations that you're looking for, where the university is located, that might allow you to start sooner in a program than waiting an entire another academic year. Application deadlines are going to vary quite widely. And so that, again, is very specific to the relevant schools. Some will be for fall of 2023, for example. they will have already had application deadlines, say on November 1st or December 1st. I think many of us start to have those application deadlines, say March 1st, April, even into May sometimes as well. And then if you're looking to apply for a January start date, you're going to be looking at somewhere in early fall, but even potentially into the summer before that January. So it's really important to pay attention to deadline dates and to the details, because sometimes schools are going to be having what we call rolling admissions. So as soon as an application file is complete, the university will provide an admissions decision, oftentimes at the same time with a scholarship decision, if they are offering scholarships and reviewing you for scholarships. That is not always the case with every law school. So that's something that you might want to ask about. And it could be that you get it back in 1 month's time. It could be in a couple of weeks once you have a completed application versus a batch admissions process in which they're waiting for all the applications to come in at one point. And then they'll review all of the applications because they want to have a very particular size within their LL.M program. And so those might be much more highly competitive. You tend to see more of a batch admissions process for law PhD programs rather than LL.M programs. I think most LL.M programs, my colleagues can jump in as well, function more on a rolling admissions, having a priority deadline or a very firm application deadline. But many of us are also willing to, if we receive a really excellent application and there was a very good reason why that application is late, many of us are willing to take a look at that for the right applicant after an application deadline date as well.
Thank you so much. Anybody else want to add anything related to this topic? Thank you. Okay.
This is my topic.
Yeah.
So this is a question we receive a lot. Do I need to have professional experience, work experience before I apply for the LL.M or not? And the short answer is it really depends on your personal situation. So we have probably in our program students in all phases of their lives. Many of them apply directly after graduating from law school. And there is, of course, the benefit that you're still in the studying and learning mode, and your knowledge of your system is still fresh, and taking exams is still a habit. So there is a lot to be said for that. Another good reason to do it right after law school is that you're not, you don't have that many responsibilities yet. You're free to go. You probably do not have family members or children that you may want to take or leave back home, and you are not in the job yet, which would be difficult to leave. Most employers would not support the employees taking off for a year, even though that too depends on your country and the culture in your country. In some countries, you need to take a licensing exam, and in many countries, there's a required period where you need to work as an intern or clerk for a law firm or in varying legal positions. So that again is something that you need to decide for yourself. Do you want to continue and complete your degree at home before you go abroad? Or do you want to take a break and get a different perspective? And that different perspective in the United States system may actually help you when you come back to your own system to complete your education and take the next exam. Of course, there are those candidates who have a PhD or a dissertation that they want to complete. There again, I mean, those may take years, and by the time you finish, you may have offers, or you may have to actually support yourself. So it may make it more difficult for you to go abroad. But on the other hand, you know so much more about your own legal system. And then finally, there are those who have years of work experience. We have that in our program as well, up to anything from 2 to 10 years is typical. And those students have the advantage of having taken a step back. They know how it works. They can compare much better. And the practical experience really helps them to study and focus on a new system. And I'll keep it at that because I think we have many more interesting slides to follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else want to add anything? Any advice or any comments? I just wanted to add that at my law school, UC Davis School of Law, that we invite students with different experiences, professional experiences, or academic to apply. That way, we believe our classroom will be have a rich conversations and diverse student body. So if you whether just finish your law school or you have a 5 years or 30 years experience, we look at the pool to build bring a cohort of different the students with different backgrounds. But I mean, my colleagues can speak to that if they have a different approach. Yep. Thank you so much. Okay, this is one of popular topics, financing your LL.M program.
Yes, so indeed, pursuing an LL.M degree in the United States is an investment, certainly an investment in terms of time and effort, but also an investment in terms of finances. So I'll share a bit about what to expect and how to fund, as well as some helpful resources. Most institutions will share publicly on their respective websites the student expense budget, and this would include not only tuition, but fees such as registration fees, academic fees, and international student fees that could include fees for visa processing as well. Typically, schools will also post information about room and board in terms of financing. So there are some options here, again, for you to consider. On-campus housing is sometimes subsidized by the university or the law school itself, and sometimes can offer lower market rates. Whereas off-campus housing will sometimes, depending on the location, if it's a large urban environment or suburban environment or rural environment, market rates might be either cheaper or more expensive perhaps than on-campus housing. Some institutions also will provide for an extension of housing post-graduation if perhaps you choose to remain in the United States a few months after graduation and perhaps take the bar exam in the summer immediately following your graduation. So it would be wise to inquire about that bar exam period and whether, if you are considering on-campus housing, whether there might be a housing extension that you would then, of course, want to take into account when you are calculating your student expense budget. And in terms of miscellaneous funding to consider as well, this would be a reasonable budget for graduate students. So I think a wise mantra here would be to know thyself. If you are someone who is considering perhaps attending an LL.M program in a large urban environment, and perhaps you want to take advantage of particular restaurants and things like that, then of course you would want to make sure to budget for your personal preferences in that regard. Regarding the process, I think my colleagues would encourage you to start your research as early as possible. Some of my colleagues have mentioned, for example, scholarship opportunities that might require applying up to a year in advance. And various institutions will have different financial aid mantras. So there might be various philosophies, and these are sometimes shared publicly on law schools' websites. Of course, you can always contact specific law schools to inquire as well. So for example, one financial aid philosophy might be providing more funding in terms of fully funded scholarships for a smaller number of students in the class. Another financial aid mantra, for example, might be providing less funding but for a broader number of students in the class. There are external scholarship deadlines for which you might be eligible, and these again might require applications up to a year in advance. So doing your research as early as possible would be best. Institutional scholarship deadlines might differ from the actual application deadlines. So it's important to note any differences amongst those as well. At your visa appointment, you will be required to provide evidence of funding. So again, it is best to start this process early, knowing that you will be required to provide evidence of how you intend to fund your LLM studies. Given the fluctuation of the global economy, some students ask about the option to pay tuition in advance for the entire duration of the academic year. So this is an option that might be available depending upon the institutions in which you are interested in applying. This would potentially protect against inflation. However, there might be jurisdiction-specific tax implications for this. So again, it's best to inquire specifically with schools themselves, as well as to inquire with your respective home countries whether there might be jurisdiction-specific tax implications if you were to pay for the entire LLM degree in one lump sum payment at the start of your studies. And certainly something to consider would be the long-term investment of the LLM degree. So not only the sticker shock of the student expense budget in terms of the immediate impact, but the long-term investment in terms of the value of an LLM degree and what it might do in terms of advancing your career. And certainly given the current global circumstances, there can be an argument to be made that the best investment during global circumstances is in education for yourself. Regarding how to fund, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide, Samudra, thank you so much. There are internal and external opportunities. So regarding internal opportunities, there might be program-specific scholarships. These might come in the form of merit-based scholarships that would be provided exclusively on merit in terms of the quantitative and qualitative components of your candidacy when the committee is evaluating you. There might also be program-specific need-based scholarships, and these might require additional documentation depending on the institution. There might be named fellowships for which you could apply in addition to the actual application itself for the institution. These might require additional essays. And again, it might be a separate application process depending on the school in which you might be interested in applying to. Institutional grants typically do not require repayment, whereas institutional loans typically require repayment, but these are often at more generous interest rates than private loans. There also might be exemptions of qualifications that might be required elsewhere in terms of private loans in regards to institutional loans. External resources would be region-specific. Some examples would be Colfuturo, Colombia's Colfuturo program, as well as Becas Chile. There might also be government-funded scholarships, such as, for example, the U.S. Department of State's Fulbright program, or jurisdiction-specific programs as well. There also might be organization-specific programs. For example, if you are currently working for a firm, your firm might have a study abroad program. These sometimes might require you to actually return to the firm upon completion of your LLM studies for a specific durational period. And then, of course, personal funds are an option as well in terms of personal savings, familial support. Private loans also are another option in your respective home country's banking institutions. And then US banks typically do require a US co-signer for international students. So that is something to keep in mind as well. For those of you who might hold dual citizenship with the US, you would be able to avail yourselves of FAFSA, which would be the US federal aid process, and that would be for US citizens and US permanent residents, which would provide you the opportunity to qualify for Stafford loans and Graduate Plus loans. Again, that would be for those of you who might perhaps hold dual citizenship or be exclusively be a US citizen or a US permanent resident as well. Next slide, please. In terms of resources, certainly speaking with people who have already pursued LLM studies in the US, they are the best, perhaps the best resource here. Ask them how they funded their studies. There might be external scholarship applications or in-country scholarships of which you might not previously have been aware. Certainly all of us on this webinar, as well as other admissions officers, are fantastic resources as well to discuss with you the specific details of their particular financial aid philosophies and opportunities that might be available at their respective institutions. Law schools' financial aid websites will often offer a lot of information, including the student expense budget. And of course, EducationUSA advisors can be a helpful resource as well. There's also an iGrad financial wellness calculator, which might be helpful to you. And I'll pause at this moment and inquire whether any of my colleagues would like to add anything.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
The only thing I would add, again, this is Margaret Etienne from the University of Illinois, is to keep in mind, in addition to all of the options that have been laid out, that many schools do permit students to opt into a sort of, you can divide the tuition payments into equal parts or spread out over the course of the semester or the year. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Although you can pay all upfront or at the beginning, many schools will give you an option to spread out your payments.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anybody else want to add? Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next topic, networking and personal opportunities.
Oh, okay. This is my topic. Hi again from the University of Illinois. So because we're talking about application to LLM programs, I'm really going to focus on networking and personal opportunities before your LLM as you are applying. But I wanted to make the note that you really should be thinking about networking and creating opportunities for your career advancement before your LLM, certainly during your LLM and after your LLM. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to make connections and to constantly be thinking about how your LLM year will advance your career and advance your progress. But before your LLM, as you are applying, you want to make sure, and I know one of my colleagues mentioned this as well, is talk to other people who have completed the LLM, both in terms of getting financial information, finding out where you should apply, what cities might be the best places for you, essentially all of the things that we have been talking about this evening to you, all of the things that have been mentioned, you could do very well by speaking to other people about any of the questions that you have, whether it's taking the English proficiency exams or what bar exams you should consider, or should you take the bar exam following your LLM. But one of the points that I make to our students is the LLM year goes by incredibly quickly. And so you will have the best experience if before your year, you have already talked to people and planned out some of the things you want to do. So you want to talk to your colleagues where you're working and classmates, your professors at your law school back home to get their advice. You want to talk to all of us, right? The various schools that you're thinking about applying to. You certainly want to look for scholarship opportunities, many of which have been laid out here before, but you want to talk to people about what worked for them. And one of the most important things, and the law students here in the US will share this as well, looking for a job, if that's something that you want to do, or looking for internships or OPT opportunities, really almost begin in the fall. As soon as you arrive, the job search prospect begins very early. And so many of the students who I have seen have the most success are students who, even before they leave for the LLM program, have started to talk to their colleagues and their friends, family members, colleagues at work about job possibilities. And so you want to start making a list of law firms that might be open to you, internships that might be open to you, and so forth, so that you can really hit the ground running. And I've already mentioned OPT and bar exams, but the primary takeaway from this is start talking as soon as you can to all of the people who you think might have the information that you need, and start thinking very strategically about how you might network before you even apply. And of course, the application process itself, you want to share, once you decide where you're going to law school, you want to share your good news with people so that they can have a stake in your success, because these are the people that you'll be relying upon to help you find jobs when you return home, or to help you find jobs and different opportunities in the United States, if that's what you choose to do. So I'll leave it at that. It's a big topic, so many others may want to join in and may have some comments. But the big takeaway is be sure to spend some time networking before, during, and after your LLM.
Thank you, Margaret, for that valuable advice. Anybody wanted to add anything?
Yeah, I would like to quickly mention something. Networking may sound scary to some people. It's really something that you probably already know how to do, but it sounds more sophisticated. And in any event, all law schools have career services offices, and the employees in that office will help you with the strategies, how to find a job and how to network and how to interview and how to represent yourself. So you're not on your own. They give you leads, and they organize events where you can actually meet employers or other lawyers to practice your networking skills.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add that the LLM program, the master's program, it's not just going to the class and listening to the lecture and go back to your apartment. It's more than that. So during your LLM program, take those opportunities, networking events during lunchtime. Maybe they have something called brown bag talks, and they may bring, the law school may organize different throughout the year. I know that UC Davis School of Law, we have a calendar full of events for students. So take initiative and go to those events and meet people. That's my advice. Okay, so increase value of an LLM. So whose slide is this?
This is Maria's. Has
Oh,
she
okay.
joined?
Is she, Tulane?
I suppose not.
Are you here? Or otherwise we can all jump in. And I know that this laid out strengthen legal English skills. That's one of the values that when international students come to US and they're going through the LLM program, they can strengthen their English language skills. Anybody wanted to kind of expand on that? Or any other values? Global network we just talked about. And this slide more expand into getting to know your faculty and other students. So you suddenly get this community, like when you first day attend the LLM orientation, you join this cohort of other students from many other countries, and you have this professional or the friend network. That for me personally, that's you can't put a dollar amount like the value. That's for me the most important thing, part of the study abroad experience. And then preparing for a global practice. And if you wanted to open that door, practicing law in the US, going through an LLM program could help you. Anybody else wanted to jump in and talk about why you should, why our students in the audience should do a LLM program? Or any other values that we have not covered in this slide?
Yeah, what I would like to mention is I transitioned from the German legal system to the American legal system and educational system. It's a very different experience. The Socratic method is something different than what is practiced in most countries, where a professor talks at a large audience or group of students. This is interactive teaching, and you do learn so much more than just the law. You learn analytical skills that are different approach here. It's the common law method. You learn writing skills, arguing skills, communication skills. It's a whole bag or package. As somebody said before, it's not just the law. So that's an incredible value, and that makes you operate much more smoothly when you come back home. And then one more thing, since you invest so much money into this, it will give you an added value when you go back to your country and apply for jobs, because you will be able to secure better employment and also higher pay in most cases.
Thank you so much. Anybody else want to add anything additional? Okay, so let's move to the next topic. Optional practical training. Actually, this can tie to the previous slide, that one of the benefits doing the LL.M, you get an opportunity to work in the US, which is optional practical way. Training is one of the ways that you can work for a year. So I'll let the slide owner to go over the OPT.
Yes, so OPT stands for optional practical training. When you get your student visa, it's most likely going to be an F1 visa. And you can convert that visa or add on a period of work permit for up to 12 months. So there are certain application requirements, and I'm not going to go into the details now, but if you can apply for that after you graduate or just before you graduate, you do need to find an employment, a job in the field of law, related to law. It can be in the legal library or in a not-for-profit or in a law firm. And then you're allowed to stay for up to 12 months. You can work part-time or full-time, and it can be unpaid. It's easier to find unpaid positions, of course, but obviously it can also be paid. So there are certain deadlines to apply, and they have shifted since Corona. I'm actually not sure whether we are back to normal or not, but you will work with the international office of your university to complete the application process. You don't have to have the job offer to apply for this, but you need to get the job within 3 months of getting the OPT granted. It's very valuable to do this if you don't have to go back, because this gives you really a leg up when you go back to your country, because you understand, or you will understand, how a law firm works or wherever you find your job. And that's where you learn how to apply what you learned in school in legal practice in the real world. There are, of course, options to do that in the law school, during the law school as well, through clinics or as the so-called skills courses. But the work experience is something completely different. So I strongly recommend that you try to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. I think we are end of our presentations, the panel part of it. Now all the law school is going to kind of go through, take 1 minute and go over their really quickly about their law school.
Hi, everyone. So Georgia State's Law School, we're located in the heart of downtown Atlanta. For our LL.M program, we offer the bar track, also known as the LL.M, for the practice of law in the United States. And we also offer a concentrations track. And this is where, you can, dive deeper into a specific area of law, such as health law, intellectual property, legal analytics, also environmental land use law, and we also have a general studies option where you can customize an LLM program for you. We also offer a dual concentration. So we have a lot of students who are looking to take the bar to attend our program. And so although their goal is to sit for the bar, they may also want to pick up another concentration in another field. And that's something that our students can also partake in. But I'd be happy to chat with you more about that in the small groups.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Bridget Sandusky from Suffolk Law School. We're located right in the heart of downtown Boston, Massachusetts, located on the East Coast. We offer a general LLM program, which you can custom design to your particular career goals and aspirations. And then we have a specialized LLM in global law and technology, which allows you to further specialize in an up-and-coming field such as intellectual property and information technology law, biotech and health, and international law and business. So I hope you will take the time to come and join my Zoom room after this evening's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I am Professor Margaret Etienne, and I'm the Associate Dean of the Graduate College at the Illinois College of Law. And I'll tell you a little bit about our school. The University of Illinois is located in the very middle of the country, in the Midwest. So easy to see a lot of the country from. We are equal distant, about 2 hours away from 3 large cities. Chicago, Indianapolis, and St. Louis are each about 2.5 hours away from where we are in Champaign. But Champaign itself is a small college town, very comfortable, low cost of living. Students really love it. You can see our campus here on the picture. The law school is right on campus. And so students take courses in the law school, but also all over the university. We are known for our concentrations in intellectual property, in corporate law, in criminal law, which is my area, as well as international law and human rights and several other things. We do have a program that begins either in the fall or in the spring, as you've heard before. And so we would welcome more information about our program. Unfortunately, I will not be in the Zoom session later because I've got another commitment, but please feel free to contact us by checking out our website here on the slide or emailing us at lawgradprograms@illinois.edu. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hi, this is my slide about Loyola, Chicago, also in the Midwest. 2 hours away from Champaign. So Loyola is located in the center of town in the area called Gold Coast. Chicago is a fantastic, bustling city. Beautiful. Most people heard lots of rumors about the city and they're all true, but you really need to go and check it out because I don't know anyone who doesn't love the place. The program, I launched it 10 years ago when I joined Loyola. I built it on my own experience in the JD program. And that's why I'm focusing on strong support for my students, help them transition, understand the way to study, how do you take an exam, how do you brief a case, and things like this, which, as I mentioned before, is very different from what you're most likely used to. And we really care about your education. Loyola is a fairly small school. The program is fairly small, about 20 to 25 students each year. You can study in the spring, start in the spring or in the fall, and you will study with the JD students. And that's great because it opens almost all of the courses that the JDs have to you. And we offer over 200 courses each academic year. And our students, many of them take the bar exam, and we have a comparatively really high bar exam passage rate of those who take it in New York. And it's a very close-knit community. So I will welcome you in my Zoom room. And if you cannot make it, please do reach out to me.
Thank you. And we have here my law school slide. We are located in Northern California, beautiful California, and Davis is a college town. We are part of the University of California system. And we have a general LLM program, and also you can customize your LLM program. And these are some of the areas that you can specialize in. And also we do have a 1-year program and also 2-year program. And also we do have a January start and also an August start. So again, just like my colleagues mentioned, we do have an integrated JD and LLM program. So that means LLM students get to sit with JD students in the classroom. And also, I'm proud to say that we are very hands-on with students. So we take care of our students very well. And we are a small to a medium-sized program. And thank you. And please come and visit me at my Zoom room shortly. Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Danielle Flores de Benzerga. I serve as the Associate Director of Admissions, Recruitment, and Student Advisement at Columbia Law School. Columbia Law is located in New York City. We offer 2 LLM programs, the traditional program and an executive LLM program. For the traditional LLM program, our students typically join us on campus in New York City in August and remain with us through May. So it's a 10-month program. You have the choice to devise your curriculum however you so choose, whether you choose to specialize or whether you choose to curate your curriculum by exploring a variety of different areas of the law. The choice is yours. For the executive LLM program, that is the same degree that is offered for the traditional program. So it's the Masters of Laws for both the traditional and the executive LLM program. The difference is in format as well as focus. So the format of the executive LLM program is such that it is operates in a more concentrated period of time. So you would receive the LLM degree in 6 months' time, as opposed to 10 months with the traditional program. And it is 3 months part-time in your respective home countries, and a 3-month in-person residency in New York City during the summer months, May through August. For the executive LLM program, that focus is in global business law. For the traditional program, we have a minimum 1 year of professional experience after receiving your primary law degree. And for the executive LLM program, we have a minimum 5 years of professional experience. So I've shared with you here the Zoom link for my room, as well as a link to upcoming online events that we have. And of course, you can always feel free to reach out to us and email us at gradprograms@law.columbia.edu. I certainly look forward to conversing with many of you in the Zoom room.
Thank you so much. We have
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Marr at Northeastern Law. And Northeastern is located right in downtown Boston. We have a on-campus LLM, which has a general curriculum, which allows students to tailor their coursework to their interests and professional goals. And we also offer concentrations in human rights and economic development, international business law, intellectual property, and health policy and law. And our on-campus LLM students also have the opportunity to participate in what we call co-op at Northeastern. And that's where students spend 1 term working full-time in a legal practice setting, very similar to an externship. Northeastern also offers an online program, which is obviously 100% online and flexible format. So if you have any questions or want to learn more, please join me in the Zoom room. Thank you.
Thank you. And we don't have Maria with us today. And if you like to check out Tulane Law School, please go to the website. And yeah, I'm sure, unfortunately, she had an emergency, so that's why she was not able to join us today. George Washington.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Andrew from George Washington University Law School. We are located in downtown Washington, D.C. We're across the street from the World Bank and 4 blocks from the White House. We are a large law school with a fairly small LL.M program. We have faculty specialty areas in intellectual property law, business and finance law, international and comparative law. In that we have concentrations in international arbitration and in human rights. We have specializations in energy and environmental law, as well as a couple of very DC specific fields, government procurement law and national security and cybersecurity law. GW Law is a great place to study whatever your topic is, and it's an even greater place to get some professional experience. I look forward to talking more about with you.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, I think we are done with the panel and going through the law school presentations. And Marina, give us the instructions.
That was wonderful, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. That was a lovely session. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I have just put the Zoom links here. I guess, did Shantae add? Oh, Shantae isn't here. I'm going to include it. Sorry. I'm going to add it here, and I'll keep this room open just for a few more minutes so the students can get their links, copy and paste it. And hopefully you all have wonderful conversations for the rest of the evening. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you so much, Mariana and Education USA for hosting, and all my colleagues joining the panel and all the students. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today.